Even though the Greek gods had human personalities, their beginnings were far from the human experience. At the beginning of the universe, there was Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. Eventually their children, the Titans, overtook Uranus under the leadership of Cronus. Cronus then married his sister Rhea and had 6 children with her, which were the Olympian gods. Just like his father, Cronus was worried that his children would try to overthrow him. Even with Cronus' precautions, Zeus, his son, led the army that eventually defeated Cronus, which allowed the Olympians to come into power. With the Olympians in power, most of them were found on Mount Olympus, where they would look down upon the humans and make any major decisions. The type of religion that the Olympians displayed was polytheistic, since there was one supreme deity, Zeus, over many other deities, which were the rest of the Olympian gods. Besides their tremendous powers, these gods and goddesses were more like humans than a person would think. They all had parents, and some even had siblings and half-siblings, which is just like families today. Like humans, every god and goddess had their own domains they excelled at and personalities. In this way, they would work together to look over and help guide humans in their daily lives. Their guidance was what caused many of the gods and goddesses to mingle with humans, sometimes creating heroes, and thus leading to the many Greek myths that showed the gods and goddesses' personalities. Of the many Olympian gods and goddesses, there were 14 main ones. Only 12 of them were on Mount Olympus at one time, so 4 of them were considered variable gods since they came and went whenever they pleased. 6 of the 14 gods were called the originals because they were the children of Cronus. The most powerful god was Zeus, the god of sky and storms, since he drew the heavens, and his weapon was the thunderbolt. Zeus's brothers were Poseidon and Hades, and even though Zeus was married to his sister Hera, he had many affairs, which led to heroes. Also, before he was married to Hera, he had 6 other wives, which proved how lustful he truly was. Zeus made all the important decisions since he kept his emotions and biases aside. Some other words to describe Zeus were carefree, just, merciful, but also sometimes unpredictable. There are many times in the Odyssey that showed Zeus' strength as a god. One important instance demonstrates how the other gods looked to Zeus to fix problems, such as when Helios told Zeus to avenge Odysseus' crew for eating his sacred cattle, or he would never have the sun rise again on Earth. Since Zeus, obviously, did not want the Earth to be forever in total darkness, he fixed it by casting a powerful storm over Odysseus' ship when they started to sail. After the storm, only Odysseus survived, which proves that Zeus does punish justly, since Odysseus had no part in the killing of the cattle. The second most powerful god was Poseidon, the violent god of sea and earthquakes, whose weapon was the trident. Poseidon sailed for Aphrodite, who was the Titan Oceanus' daughter, even though he really wanted to marry his sister Demeter. Since Zeus was the only god more powerful than Poseidon, he often tried to dethrone Zeus so that he would become the most powerful god. These attempts often showed many of his characteristics, such as holding grudges, being selfish, disloyal, vengeful, persistent, greedy, but also at times kind. Poseidon often appeared in myths that dealt with the seas, such as the Odyssey. Odysseus ended up blinding Poseidon's son Polyphemus, a Cyclops, who would have killed Odysseus if he had his sight. Due to that, Polyphemus put a curse on Odysseus, which his father heard and tried his hardest to fulfill. Poseidon did everything in his power to make sure that the curse was carried out, which demonstrated his temper and vengeful side. Hades was third in rank and power after his 2 brothers. Hades was known as a variable god, since he often stayed in the underworld instead of Mount Olympus. He was the ruler of the underworld, which meant that he judged the dead, and was also the god of wealth, due to being in control of the metals within the earth. The weapon that Hades used was very different from his brothers, because it was a helmet that made him invisible. As for Hades' wife, he always had his eye on Persephone, but she did not want to marry him. Therefore, Hades abducted her and tricked her into becoming his wife and queen of the underworld by having her eat a pomegranate seed. The rule was that once a person ate something from the underworld, she or he would not be able to leave. Well, since Persephone's mother was Demeter, she pleaded to Zeus to allow her daughter to return to Earth, but Zeus, being the just god he was, made a compromise in which Persephone would be able to live with her mother for 2/3 of the year and remain in the underworld for the rest of the time. It was through this compromise that the seasons evolved. Even though most people had the opinion of Hades as evil, he was just a loner and uninterested with the living. Some characteristics of Hades were private, somber, grim, cold, efficient, unpredictable, terrible, and greedy. He also enjoyed solitude, had a strong sense of responsibility, but showed no pity or emotion. One character in Greek mythology that Hades interacted with was Theseus. Theseus was a hero who went with his friend Persephone to rescue Persephone, but when Hades realized they were there to save Persephone, he became very angry. Hades then asked the two men to sit down and talk it over, but the chair that he offered them was a chair of forgetfulness, and they ended up stuck there for 4 years until Hercules came to rescue them. This incident in Greek mythology showed how greedy, terrible, and unpredictable Hades would be when provoked. In addition to the 3 brothers, there were 3 sisters, with the greatest original goddess being Hera, the goddess of marriage who protected wives and childbirth. It was only fitting that she became the wife of her brother Zeus, therefore becoming the queen of the heavens. Hera's personality traits of being jealous, suspicious, vindictive, quick-tempered, and passionate were one cause of her husband's many affairs. Hera was specifically mentioned in the Iliad by encouraging Diomedes to attack Ares during the Trojan War, since he was interfering with the war by fighting on the Trojan side. This instance showed how vindictive Hera could be, even towards her own son, when she was passionate about something. The eldest of the original Olympian deities was Hestia, another variable god since she never left the hearth of Mount Olympus. She was known as the virgin goddess of hearth, home, and togetherness. Since she was also the family goddess and protector of community, she represented all of what the home was about. Even though Hestia never married or had her own family, she did have many suitors. Hestia was often forgotten about in myths because she never mingled with humans, and was considered a chaste goddess, which meant that it was disrespectful to gossip about her. Nevertheless, she was seen as compassionate, virtuous, generous, peaceful, and would never participate in disputes. The last of the originals, Demeter, was a variable goddess because she liked to be close to the earth, but was still involved in the council. Demeter was the goddess of harvest and the mother of spring, who was Persephone. Since she had the powers of fertility and agriculture, humans prayed to her in order to have food due to her being able to create or destroy. Demeter never married, but unlike her sisters Hera and Hestia, she had many affairs. She was a very generous goddess, which was why both humans and gods respected her, but if threatened, she could be very cruel. This was seen when her daughter Persephone was stolen by Hades. Even though it was not the humans' fault, she ended up punishing them because she went into a depression, shutting down her powers of fertility and agriculture, and causing the humans to starve due to having no crops. In addition to these original 6, there were 8 other main gods and goddesses. One of these was the brilliant and merciful daughter of Zeus and Metis, who was Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom, reason, purity, cities, handicrafts, agriculture, war, justice, arts, and skill. In addition to all of these, she was also the patron of spinners, weavers, metal workers, carpenters, and skilled workers. Being a patron to all of these people meant that she was prayed to often. Due to her wisdom, she was also the great inventor of the bridle, trumpet, flute, pot, brake, yoke, ship, and chariot. Even though Athena was a fierce, brave strategist in battle, she rather would have had peace whenever possible. Like almost all of the other gods and goddesses, she appeared in many myths. One time Athena was mentioned in a myth was with the Odyssey. Throughout the story, she helped Odysseus on his voyage home, even though most of the other gods were against him. Eventually, she was able to reunite him with his family, which showed how brilliant Athena was, since she prevented all the other gods' attempts to kill Odysseus. Another main god was Apollo, the god of the sun, healing, light and truth, archery, poetry, fine arts, religious purity, prophecy, and eloquence. Apollo was the son of Zeus and Leto and had a twin sister named Artemis. There were a couple of things that Apollo was known for, which include driving the sun across the sky since his chariot wheel was the sun, and hunting with silver arrows and a bow. In addition, Apollo was known for the oracle at Delphi, where he gave prophecies to Pythia about anything the people wanted to know. In the end, Apollo never married, but he did have several affairs, which led to many children. Some reasons why he had many affairs were that he was smart, good-hearted, skillful, competitive, and an ideal beauty. Even with these tremendous qualities, he still could be harsh. He often sent plagues to cities so that no one would deny his power. A good example of this was when Chryses went to Agamemnon to get his daughter Chryses back. Even though he brought the scepter of Apollo entwined with the wreath of a supplement as a ransom for her, Agamemnon just laughed at him and sent Chryses away. Chryses was so upset that he called down a god's curse upon the Greeks in the temple of Apollo, which caused Apollo to send down plagues for 9 days on the Greeks. These plagues killed many animals and people. Agamemnon allowed Chryses to return to her father. Artemis, the twin of Apollo and daughter of Zeus and Semele, was the virgin goddess of the hunt, moon, and chastity. Since she was one of Zeus's favorite daughters, he granted her eternal youth. Being the goddess of the hunt, she enjoyed the challenge of hunting in order to keep animal populations in check. In addition to her other duties, she was the protector of the young and weak, childbirth, and wild animals. Artemis also had many human personality traits that made her genuine, independent, free-spirited, nature-bound, and loyal. Even though for the most part she was easygoing, she could be vengeful and harsh if offended, especially when her virginity was at stake. Next, there was the least favorite god, Ares, the god of war, who loved battle, bloodshed, terror, and destruction, but despised the ideals of justice and strategic challenges of war. Ares was the son of Zeus and Hera, but even they disliked him. He had an affair with Aphrodite, whose husband was the god Hephaestus, which caused Ares to be publicly ridiculed by Hephaestus in front of the other gods and goddesses. Ares' behavior with war and adultery proved that he lacked morality, principles, cleverness, wisdom, and decency. Instead, he was murderous, blood-stained, and cowardly. The only time he was a kinder god was when he was in love, which was not as often as people hoped. One myth he was mentioned that showed his love of war and bitter relationships with other gods and goddesses was the Iliad. Since the other gods and goddesses recognized Ares fighting with the Trojans, they attacked him, which caused the Trojans to have to fall back since he was badly injured. Most people have heard of the next goddess, Aphrodite, who is the goddess of beauty, love, sex, and desire. Aphrodite's birth was very unusual in that she was born when Cronus castrated Uranus and tossed his severed genitals into the sea. Using her powers of love, she compelled people to desire anyone, even herself. Aphrodite's greatest weapon was her girdle, which caused the person who wore it to become desirable to everyone who saw him or her. She later married Hephaestus, even though she did not want to, which is one reason why she had many affairs. Aphrodite was usually seen as ridiculous or benevolent, but always passionate and sometimes even generous. One of the most famous times Aphrodite was mentioned in a Greek myth came when she was in a beauty competition against Hera and Athena for the attention of Paris in order to win the golden apple.